And now, I think I am live. Not sure. Oh. Oh, okay. Dang, I'm doing the most. What's up, everyone? It's me, Mario. Okay. I'm just kind of waiting
And
for. Ooh, okay, it's on. It's on.
and
It's on.
now.
Okay. Shut your face, me. Um, So it's me, Raven, and welcome back to Quarren Reads. I didn't go live last week because why didn't I do it? Because I'm in the midst of a room makeover. As you can see, I'm not in my room. I'm in a different room today. My room is like getting a really cool makeover, so I really can't wait. You guys are gonna like what you see. I'm gonna what's this say? Oh, it appears to me that I do not have a window open for the thing I must do, which is share this thing to the Facebook crew. So we're here again to talk about absolutely remarkable thing. I don't know that I'll have anyone in the book club today because I didn't make it clear that I was coming on today. And I just want to keep it going. Oh my god, what the heck? Oh, here we are. I've gone live on YouTube. Catch it now. Goo, 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 goo. So I didn't say that I was going live, and it is the weekend after Thanksgiving, and people are doing their own thing. So who knows what's happening? Um, it's officially Christmas. It's not really. Um, yeah, it's officially Christmas. It's not really. It's still November. But you know how we feel about Christmas. Christmas is right after Thanksgiving. So when Thanksgiving's over, baby, it's time for Christmas. Um anyway, so we're gonna talk about an absolutely remarkable thing today. We're all supposed to be done with the book. So I don't know. I'm just gonna do a little bit of discussion about it. It's a fun book. As you can see, I've got my fro out today. I'm looking African, which is great. It's curly. And for some reason, I have this, but that's because I think of the way I did my braids when I braided my hair down. Anyway, so we are supposed to be finished with the book. So, spoiler alert, because we're not gonna talk I'm gonna try not to worry about spoilers. I feel bad because no one's discussing, so I don't want to like be like, here's something you didn't know. But at any rate, it's a really great book. By the way, it's on sale in ebook form right now. It's like $2.99. So if you want to read it and you haven't been reading along, I would implore you to find it on ebook. It's in any ebook format, so not even just your Kindle, whatever, but your Google Books or wherever you get your ebooks. So check that out. Yes. So I think last time we talked up until about like maybe the middle of the book. I don't know that we talked about stuff that happened though, because I was trying to like and me and Mel were both like trying to like not spoil because it's a weird book and it's like kind of a mystery and it's a little bit more fun if you read the mystery and like let it unfold yourself. Um but yes, so I think we understand that this Carl robot thing has appeared in various different major cities around the world. So the Carls are like these robots and they're not like true robots. I think that they are just I don't know what they are. They're um like in my head, they're like the like Japanese Gundam things. Um, I think they're described a little bit more similar to like a samurai thing, but I think that's why I'm picturing like the Gundams. Like if you know what a Gundam is, right? Like the like the like mecha robot things that are like from like all the old Japanese cartoons or even like current Japanese cartoons. I don't know, like like Transformers or like I don't know, like a Gundam. I don't know, a Gundam, like a robot thing. So that's what I kind of picture. But these Carls appear in these major cities around the world. And we've got April May, who discovers it in New York. She's the first person to catch it on camera, to discover it. Her and Andy Scamped, they upload the video to YouTube. It goes viral. Everybody's like, what? Because these things have appeared all over the world. And so because her video went viral, she gets invited to do all these news shows and all these like late night shows and stuff. And she's like making money from it and getting famous off of it and everything. And yeah, it's like a whole like new thing for her. April gets kind of like into the being famous part a little bit, and she becomes kind of not great and does like mean things with her friend. Like, you know, she does like things that are like not very nice. Like she breaks up with her girlfriend, not because she wants to break up with her girlfriend, but because it's easier to break up with her girlfriend. Um, it's just, you know, she just kind of like lets the fame go to her head. But then also at the same time, we start learning weird things about this robot. There's a thing called the Freddie Mercury sequence where they find like all of these typos in the Don't Stop Me Now Wikipedia page. I wish like it was real so we could like run through it. But they find all these typos. But every time you fix a typo, a new typo comes out, and so it's like clear that it's a code. And they figure out that, oh well, this girl named Miranda, who is a biochemical, I don't know what the heck she is. She's a person in a PhD program. We'll just say that. And she figures out that the sequence is asking for certain elements, and that maybe Carl wants them. So they decide to give Carl these elements, and Carl takes the elements and loses his hand. The hand pops off and runs away, and April and them chase it, and it's very strange, right? So the hand is very interesting, interesting thing. Um, but what also happens is this dream. So the dream happens, and inside of the dream, it kind of operates kind of like a VR universe, but it's like, you know, there's no like mechanism. It's just in your head. And the dream kind of like allows you like at first they can't figure out, like they don't even realize that they're all having a shared dream, but it's like they meet this robot thing, it asks them for a passcode, they don't know the passcode, and so they wake up. But it ends up being like there's like these puzzles and things that you can solve inside the dream, like big physical world stuff that you can solve inside the dream. And then the other interesting thing about the dream is that it's contagious. So if I have the dream and then I meet you, then you're probably going to have the dream now. Um, and so that's like the really cool, like interesting thing that starts to happen in the universe that like happens because of Carl. And because of this thing, because of like, oh, another thing I want to mention before I go into that is that April also films well, she films herself giving Carl the two of the elements, americium and I can't remember what they are. Iodine and americium. And she gives Carl those two elements, and that kind of sparks the dream, but she records it, and she also gets to record the hand coming off and running away. And this when she uploads that to YouTube, this like elevates her and Andy's fame, like skyrockets it. And So what happens, like, naturally, because this is like a weird, like, world-changing occurrence, these like Carls appearing, and because a lot of people are pretty sure that they are alien, um, Homegirl becomes like super famous, and some people love her and just are like, oh my God, we love April, you know, we love the dream, we love the Carls, we're into this, aliens, cool. And then some people are like, this girl is a traitor, you know, humanity could be in danger and she doesn't care, and we hate her, and we're going to form this group that is completely against her. And yeah, so that's like an important thing to remember. um, um, I'm gonna open my book so that I can uh, find my examples and things. But so essentially, this dream starts like becoming an obsession for a particular group of people, for a lot of people around the world. And so they kind of come up with this social media thing called the Psalm, and it's where people can discuss the dream and like what they have figured out in the dream, um, things that they figured out you can do in the dream, but most importantly, like things that they have figured out about the world from the dream. Let me open it back up to, oops, not that. So the dream becomes like a big, like the big thing that like everyone's like happy about, or like angry about. And choo, 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 choo. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Oh no, 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 no. Wait, there's a thing in there. What did I do? Okay, I seem to have lost my notes, but that's fine. We'll just talk from freedom. Um, but yes, there's a guy. His name is Peter something. I think. Let me look him up. He's basically the like Ben Shapiro. Let's look up these character names, because sometimes I be forgetting. Yes, and the kindness of ghosts. I'm gonna read that. It's a different book. Um, and like also, I'm like really I apologize about the lack of selection for the next book, is only because I've been working on that bedroom makeover, which is really cool. I still think we should do a sequel. I think we should not do this sequel, not because it's not good. I actually think the sequel's better, but because like we should do a sequel that is everyone's choice. And okay, wait, how do I go to the thing? How do I go to the thing? Blah, blah, blah. Let's just make this easier. What's his name? Peter Petrowicki. It's not a real like name, dude. I don't know that someone's name is Petrowicki Hangry, but that, you know, someone's name might be. People have all kinds of names in this world. It's like 8 billion people on this planet, so they can have any type of name. But anyway, so he hates April, and he kind of becomes like the leader of this movement against April, which I think they're called the Defenders or something like that. Um, and basically, they think that they are protecting Earth from the aliens and from April, who is either an alien or like the proxy of the aliens. So basically Peter becomes like this pundit. Like I said, he's sort of the Ben Shapiro type figure. He appears on news stations and stuff, or like, like the cable news networks and things. And he just basically like, oh, this girl, she's doing all this bad stuff with the aliens and she's bad and we should hate her. And, she ends up like appearing on like a thing with him. And she's like, wait, like, what you're saying isn't true. And like, da 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 da. And who cares? Because Peter's going to spread his BS. And, it just becomes a thing. And as tends to happen when you have like a person like that and a movement like that, which I think is like one of the interesting things about this book. Like, yes, we get to see like the pitfalls of fame in a way because of April, both like she kind of blows up her own life in a way, but both by being um like rude, like I don't know, like not nice to the people who are already in her life, like her April, like Maya and Andy, and then like even to her new like people like Robin and Miranda. And she ends up like kind of letting that stuff go to her head a little bit. She ends up like making really foolish decisions. Um yeah, and like we get to see all of that, but also the interesting thing about the book is like that the parallels to like things that are happening in today's society are like really interesting. Like I think I've said before, I think, but I feel like this book is a really great like slice of what today's world is like in a way that I haven't really seen in other books. So if you were to like 100 years from now, if somehow you went into the future and they were like, what's a book that like aside from the science fiction elements of this book, but like what's a book that perfectly captures like what it was like living in 2018? I think an absolutely remarkable thing like actually captures that pretty well because it's like you've got the how do I say this in a succinct way? You've got like the thing about like the social internet and how the social internet like spreads information really fast, but also spreads misinformation really fast, right? So as much as like April can get on there and say, well, this is what I know about the Carls, and this is what I know about the Hand, and this is what I know about the Dream, because she knows from like a more firsthand perspective. Peter Petrowicki can get on there and say like, "Oh, she's a," I don't know. I really don't know how to say what the bad people are saying, but you know what I'm trying to say. And Peter, just a little like preview, becomes like why am I talking like I can't speak English? I don't know. Peter becomes like a prominent figure in the next book in much like the same way he is a figure in this book, but like an even worse way. So, yeah, like you get these people who are like spreading this misinformation and like doing it for personal gain more than like for some kind of like real, true, like care about humanity or society, which is the interesting thing about it. Like I don't really hold the opinion that Peter Petrowicki really felt like he was doing anything good for society. I really just feel like he wanted to be notable. So he picked like there's this whole like thing where you pick the negative, like whatever's happening, and you pick the negative side of it, and then you can make a name for yourself by doing that. And we see it all the time, especially on the social internet, where like something will be like extremely popular, and then someone will take the negative side and say like, no, I don't like this thing or this person, and like make it their thing to like be negative about that thing, and it gets them fame, it gets them like internet notoriety. So Peter Petrowicki does this, but because the Carl story is so big, and because April's so big, it's more than just like gives him like some level of internet notoriety, but like makes him like a prominent figure in the like true news. Um and anyway, so yeah, the hand. Let's go back to the hand. So the hand comes off and runs away. And when do we see the hand again? When the hand decides it wants to bust up in April's apartment and be her friend. So I don't know if saying be her friend is accurate. I don't know. So anyway, April kind of like has a connection to the Carls, and well, to Carl. So as what we learn is that the Carls are not necessarily physically there. They just kind of feel like they're physically there. It's very strange, and it's I feel like you get a better understanding of what is actually happening in the second book. So I'm gonna pull back because I've read the second book, and I'm not gonna like overstep and like go into what happens in the second book. But the Carls are a projection in a way. It's like they're physically there, but they're not physically there. You know what I mean? So like when you walk up to the Carls and you touch them, you can feel something physically there. So it's not like a hologram, but it's like they are all the same entity. So if I do something to New York Carl, then that same thing is going to happen to all of the other Carls, right? So when you've got April and her friends in California, and they give the iodine and the americium to Hollywood Carl, then all of the hands disappear, but only the Hollywood Carl hand comes off and runs away because there's only one Carl. It's just that the one Carl is projected in all of these cities around the world. So, um, so anyway, Miss April has a connection to Carl, and we will not talk about like why, but because that's second book stuff, I think. Thanks, Hank Green. This is complicated, and this book I think kind of ends where you're like, what? And kind of ends where like you're waiting for the next book. Um, so it's kind of hard to talk about them as two different books because they kind of read like two episodes of the same book. Like I don't know if episode is the right word, but um it was very good though. Like it was like I read the first book when it first came out, and I read it maybe in like 3 days, and I was just like, wow, like what an interesting book. Like I really can't wait for the sequel. Um, and then it took a long time, and then the sequel came out this year. Um, the interesting thing about Hank, about his books, because like I don't know about Hank's life. I don't know who Hank is. I don't know about his life. But the interesting thing about his writing is that like both books are extremely timely. Like at the time when An Absolutely Remarkable Thing first came out, I think like this was 2018, and we were like all kind of like this QAnon stuff was like starting to be a big thing, and we were already like dealing with like stuff like Proud Boys and like all of these like internet extremist groups that were like starting to have like real impact on society and like politics, and like sometimes in like a very dangerous way. And so the defenders in this book also have like a real impact on society and politics, and in particularly in a really dangerous way. And so like that was very timely, and it was also like um this is a very like sensitive thing I'm going to bring up, but um I'm sure we all remember when the Proud Boys were having their Charlottesville march, and then, of course, there were counter protesters there, and one of the Proud Boy guys just runs over these protesters, and it results in the death of Heather Heyer, um, who was a young woman who was there protesting as well. Um, uh, and Yeah, so like the fact that what happens to April happens in this book, it was very timely to like the things that we were experiencing at the time. And then in A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor, it came out in the middle of 2020, and we're like in the midst of this global pandemic, which is also creating a financial crisis. Um, we're also like experiencing an extreme level of social unrest. And of course, in that book, not to like spoil it too much, but like in that book, the characters are dealing with um, this new, how we should say, um, this new virtual reality thing that comes out to kind of replace the dream, right? And it's so addictive that you could walk out on the streets of Times Square and like people wouldn't be outside. Like, and so like in a way, you're getting this same commentary that like reflects the world that we were living in during the global pandemic, even though it wasn't really a pandemic in the book, and it like wasn't like this exact same thing, but it was like a similar like, oh my god, like this type of thing reflects like the world that we're living in. And considering that Hank could have not possibly known what was going to happen in 2020 when he was writing the book, that's really interesting. um but it's not like predictive, like it doesn't feel as like predictive as like say Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower. Kind of feel like, obviously, like we're not living in that horrible version of a 2020s as is in the book. um Thank God, and hopefully the 2020s don't continue down that road, but like the same types of like um oppression and poverty due to like government handling things wrong, and like corporate towns and like all that stuff was like it feels like very predictive. And like, so a lot of people talk about Parable of the Sower as being like, oh, it's so predictive. So I wouldn't say like an absolute remarkable thing, or not an absolutely remarkable thing, but A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor is like extremely predictive in that sense. It's just more like writings on the wall type of stuff, because it very timely type of stuff. And also like um making a logical connection based on like what he wrote in the first book. um but yeah, like we're all very obsessed with the internet and with apps and with games. And so this idea of like everyone being immersed in this like fake world, it's not even new. It's not like a new concept. um it's just a well executed concept. I mean, I think about Ready Player One too, which is also like the book, not the movie. I mean, I guess the movie is like the same concept, but the book, um it's a similar concept. Ready Player Two just came out, which is interesting. I have not read it, and I don't want to. I've heard bad things. I maybe will read it anyway. I like to read things on my own. But Ready Player One, um, is also like a fantasy, like a virtual world that everybody like gets kind of caught up in, and like people live more in the virtual world than they do in the real world. And I do think an absolute remarkable thing. Okay, they're a bit different. I feel like an absolute remarkable thing is a little better executed because um, it it kind of creates its own world a little better, whereas Ready Player One kind of relies on the nostalgia from of the 80s and 90s, and mostly the 80s, but I think it's like mostly it's the 80s and 90s. I think in the movie it's more mostly well, no, in the movie, it seems like it's whoever paid for product placement the most. Whereas in the book, it's like Gunters are just like obsessed with like video game history and like some pop culture history. Like that was the one thing that was different. I know I'm talking about a completely different book series now by a completely different writer. Um, but the movie seemed to focus a lot more on general pop culture and especially film, whereas the book seemed to focus a lot more on video game history. Although there was like some pop culture history in there as well, because I think like Leopardon from Spider-Man is in there. I think Spider-Man being the like Japanese Spider-Man television series from the 70s. And for some reason, Spider-Man had a robot named Leopardon, who was like a leopard themed robot, which makes no sense because he's a spider. But anyway, um, yeah, um, in that sense, the the like game thing in Beautifully Foolish Endeavor, or like the like virtual world, but like the game thing is much more its own thing. Although in Ready Player One, it's like more of a complete like world that you can like be in. But in an absolutely remarkable thing, it's not a good thing. So like I feel like in Ready Player One, it's like much more presented as like, oh, it's just a good thing that's just like the next logical thing from the internet. It's like the internet and then this. So it's like a good thing. It just needs to be in the right hands. Whereas in A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor, it's not really presented as a good thing, and for reasons, which I'm not gonna talk about because we have not read that book as a group. Um, I just feel like it's handled better. I don't know. I just really like this series. It's a good series. Um, One thing that people criticize Hank Green on, for this book is like that the book is a bit conversational. Like it's not written novelly. You know what I mean? It's written conversational. So April April's like prose reads like millennial speak. Like it reads like a millennial. And um I think it's fine. And the reason I think it's fine is because it is a character telling her story. So if we're talking about like April May telling her story in book form, how would she write this? Probably like this, like, Tumblr style, It's not that Tumblr style, but it's a bit more conversational than um a typical novel might be. And but I think it works. And I also think it works in the sense that like we get to see April doing her like bad stuff, like not being that like a great friend or a great girlfriend or a good person sometimes, and like letting her acknowledge it from her point of view. I think that's a really cool tool to use as a writer. Um, you can also use like the like I don't know, unreliable narrator. So we could have gotten like, oh well, I was great. I don't know what Maya's problem was. And it still would have been effective. It's a little bit harder to use in the sense that like you need to make it clear like what is actually happening and that the narrator is unreliable. But April is very self-aware of her like doing these bad things and she does make excuses for herself, but like also, yeah, it's very clear that she knows that she's not being a great person. And yeah, I like that format. I like the way it's written. In the second book, it's written from multiple characters' points of view. So we get parts in Maya's point of view, in Andy's point of view, in Miranda's point of view, um, and some in April's point of view. And we get some Carl. Get some Carl point of view, which is really interesting. But I'm sure, like, if you've read to the end of the book, then we understand that, like, April can now communicate with Carl. She can, like, talk to Carl and, like, be privy to things that Carl is trying to tell her, right? And yeah, so by the end, April goes into the warehouse, and we know what happens to her. Um, I feel like the book ends in a way where, like, we're not quite sure. Like, it's like April's dead, but, like, is April dead? And, like, also, how is she telling the story, right? So we kind of know, like, April's not dead, but how is she not dead? And not to spoil the second book, but she is dead. And then she's not dead, but not because she wasn't dead. So I don't know how to make that make sense without spoiling the second book. So I'm just not gonna say anything else. Just, yeah, April dies. So it's like Hank is not being facetious, and he's like, being real. She died. So I'm just gonna go to the very last bit really quickly. April, keep reading. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, no, that's the beautifully foolish endeavor. Is this Andy's part? Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's exactly what I wanted to make sure. I was like, I think this is true, but, like, again, I read both books, so sometimes it blurs together. But we end with a text message from April on Andy's phone, and it just says knock knock. And, like, imagine if you read this book in 2018 and there was no sequel yet, and you were just like, what is happening? So yeah, April dies. um Her friends and family are not really super clear because they never find a body, right? um so you've got some people that April knows who are like, she's not dead, there's no way she's dead, they never found a body, we just don't know what happened to her. And then other people are just like, no, she's dead, like, it hurts and it sucks, and we just have to, like, deal with this and move on. um I feel like Andy was like, she's not dead. And then he was like, well, maybe I got to accept that she's dead. But then he gets this, like, knock knock text. I personally would love to hear what everyone thinks about the knock knock. Um, I'm sure, like, it's clear that because there's a book too, bless me, that there's more to the story there. But, like, yeah, knock knock happens. That's interesting. Um, I'm gonna go because I'm gonna get into the second book, but yeah, it's like a really cool ending there. And it's really cool because it really leads into the next book. The books are really fun to read back to back. So if you want to try that, feel free. We're gonna pick the next book. Um, we should have picked it. We should have picked it this today. But I'm just gonna, like, pop up a little poll, and if you guys want to, like, vote, and just, like, we'll just be talking about that book next week, because I just really don't want to talk about an absolutely remarkable thing again. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit, but I don't want to talk about a new book. Okay, I just want to start reading the second book. I mean, the ninth, the 10th, the 12th, 11th. I don't even know what book it is anymore. Okay, but I want to read the next book. I want to do a sequel. So we can read A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor. We can read um Parable of the Talents. We can read Jacoby book 2. I don't know what that one was. We can read Children of, hold on. second book called? Why y'all hating on me, man? Give me the information. Inform me. Inform me of the thing. What's the second book, dude? Oh, here's her whole website. Let's just go to Tomi Adeyemi. Ade Tomi Adeyemi. Let's go to her website. And Children of Virtue and Vengeance, I think, is the second, right? Second book? Third book not out, right? We can read that. Heard mixed things about that too. Or we can read a new book. I saw someone suggest that we read Barack Obama's new book. We have not really read a nonfiction yet, so that's interesting. Maybe I'll put it on the thing if you guys really want to check that out. It would be our first nonfiction. Yeah, I'm very excited about picking the next book. So I guess I'll check you guys next time. I lied the previous week, when I didn't come on last week. But again, I apologize. I am making over my room. I will share that. It is a nice makeover. I did extra fancy stuff on the wall. It is not just a regular paint, new furniture. It's like paint, art, new furniture, you know what I mean? So like little Lard DIY type deal. I'm trying. I really did get inspired by Lard DIY. Like I saw her do some kind of room thing and I was like, I'm gonna try something. And mine is not like hers at all. It's like my own idea. But she inspired me to try that. So good for her, I guess. I don't know. She doesn't care. She's like, who are you? But yeah, anyway, as you can tell, I like YouTube a lot. So I'm sitting here reading a YouTuber's book and talking about another YouTuber. I think like one thing though I will say about Hank Green's book. I think he's not hurting. The book has done really well and the sequel is doing really well. But I think like this idea that it's a YouTuber's book is just not fair. It's not a YouTuber's book. Like a lot of YouTubers have come out with books over the years. A lot of them are usually books about them or about something they do, like a cookbook or like a self-help book or something like that. And so when you say a YouTuber book, like people think like, oh, I don't really want to know what Jake Paul's up to, you know? And it's not that it's a book. It's like a true book. I think a few other YouTubers have written like fiction books before. I have not read a lot of YouTubers' fiction books. The only YouTuber whose fiction book I've read was a writer before they were a YouTuber, and that's John Green. And so, his first novel came out before YouTube was a thing. So, and I've read novels from authors who have YouTube channels, but like people who like started on YouTube who write books, who have written a book, like people usually are like, you're a YouTuber. And I think also that's not fair. Like people become YouTubers because it's like the easier way to like get your stuff out there without having to wait for someone to tell you yes. Like it doesn't mean something's wrong with that person. It just means it's an easier way to get your commentary, your comedy, your art, your whatever out there without having to wait for someone to like some corporation somewhere to say, this will make us millions of dollars. And so I do not blame people. Like, look at me, I'm on YouTube and I'm not nowhere near a YouTuber, but it's called YouTube for a reason. And I get it. So I have no problem with that. And also Hank has been on YouTube for like educational purposes most of his. I mean, I guess Vlogbrothers didn't start that way, but he's an edutainment guy. So whatever. But his book is really cool. And if you like science and if you're like nerdy, then you'll probably like this book because it kind of in the same grain as Sleeping Giants, which we read before this book. It is science fiction that leans heavily on the science. So if you like science and you like want to read a sciencey book that's fictionalized then this is the type of book you should be reading, you know? Because there's science fiction that's just like straight up, like you're just like, what? But Hank tries to. I mean, he's a science dude. Most of you guys know him from science, and everybody on TikTok thinks he knows everything. I don't know why they think he does. I think he's just a really good researcher. Most of like being good at science is about being good at researching. So, anyway, congratulations to Hank Green. It's a good book. I'll check you guys later. We will pick the new book, and I will finish my room makeover, hopefully, and get some Christmas decorations up too. And I'd play Christmas music right now, but I don't want to get, copyright strikes. So jingle bell rock. I'll catch you guys similar bat time, similar bat channel next week. I'm going to go make cookies. Goodbye.